Hi, it's James from Hidden Depths Coaching. Today's video is going to be on, are you being your best self? Are you being the best version of you that you can be? A lot of us are living a life that are not the person we are now. A lot of things have changed in your life, but you're kind of living the same behaviours that you picked up many years ago. And I just want to explain to you just how easily these behaviours can get stored in, and become who you are. Like, most of us drive cars, and when you get to drive your car now, you don't think about it, you just start it up and drive. Well, you kind of learn those behaviours, and along the way you learned a lot of bad behaviours, which has now become the way you drive your car. Well, throughout our life, we've learned a lot of beliefs, a lot of behaviours, and a lot of, actions that we've never sat down and said, I want to review them. Maybe some of them are out of date. And just to explain what happens to us as human beings as we're growing up, between the ages of 5 and 7 is when each child forms a wee bit of who he is. He understands what appreciation is, love, freedom and empowerment. And then the first change you kind of go through is between the ages of 7 and 13. You start to change slightly, but if you look at even a 13-year-old kid, back when we were kids, or if you're really in your 30s and above, at 13, just before that, you were really, you did what you wanted to do. You weren't really run down with the influences of other people. If you wanted to do something, you did it. You had this amazing energy, and you just kept going. Fortunately, the kids today, that's maybe not the case because of, as you know, things like social media. But that's a different conversation. But just to see what happens, and then you go through this next change. It's between the ages of 13 and 16, maybe 17 is when you go to high school. So the game changes a bit there. And it's all about measuring up, achieving. So you really put a lot of pressure on yourself. And then after that, you'll leave. You'll maybe go and get a job. And between the ages of 16, 17, and 21, which is put down as the toughest 5 years of your life. After that, when you reach 21, it's the end of those tough 5 years that you decide that's the type of person you are. And then you live that way throughout your life, sometimes never questioning those old beliefs, those old values, those old things that you've picked up in your life. A lot of times it does change for people. You maybe become a dad, a mum, get a different job, get a promotion, whatever happens, and something happens in your life to make you change. But often in life, we're just following these same behaviours that you've picked up for many years. And what I would say is, the only way you can get past that is by challenging those behaviours. And things are happening to you at 3 levels. Either there's something in your present time that you're not dealing with, a situation, so that's why you're not feeling good, because there's something, you've got something to deal with, but you're not dealing with it. Or it's a past thing that you've never accepted, you never forgave yourself for, you've never understood. Sometimes the hardest times in your life have led to the best opportunities, but you still carry the weight of that action or whatever you did. You've never fully took responsibility for it. And the other thing is, it's what's called a withhold. It's basically you're kidding yourself on. There's something you should be doing that you're not doing, and you're daily letting yourself down. But as I say, that's just a wee bit, just for you to think about differently. Are you being the person that you want to be, or are you just living of the byproduct of so many events in your life that some of them are good, but some of them are really bad? And have you ever stopped to say that you can't go back there? When you put a boat in the water and it'll move about, it can never ever catch its trail. Well, that's a bit like life. You can never ever catch your past. But we don't realise that, and we spend a lot of time going over it. If only I did this, I wish I never did this, I wish I never met that person. Not realising that every time you're moving, you're leaving a new trail. But what happens is, we keep chasing that trail, and then in life you get tired of doing that. So what happens to a boat that's in the water that nobody's steering? It actually gets lost, or it crashes. And that's what causes people to crash or get lost in life. They spend that much time chasing a past. They then let go of things, they just give up basically, and then they either get lost or they get crashed. So really all you can do is put your boat in the water from today, point it in the direction that you want to go. So you've got to point life in the direction you want to go. Then you've got to get a strong feeling of the person that you want to be, and then you'll notice this gap between the person you want to be and who you are, and you've got to fill in that gap. And the only thing that's holding you back from filling in that gap is either something that's happened in your past that you need to deal with, something in your present that you can see right before your eyes that you're ignoring, or you're kind of kidding yourself on about something, but they can be the only reasons that stop you moving forward, unless you've got some sort of a physical thing that's really getting in the road. But most people, it's all mental and emotional. So anyway, that was just a wee brief introduction on the diamond effect, which we spend a lot of work on, and why people do what they do. And most of it's obviously caused by past experiences that you've not kind of dealt with. My seminar's on the 22nd of August, still tickets available for that. As I said, we go through the full emotional ladder, all about yourself, what's happened, and then get you to join up those dots in your life so that you feel really good about it, and you feel really empowered to move on. Because we have got this natural energy resource in us that we're leaving behind. You don't see kids running out of energy very quickly yet. You get older, you've got great diet plans, great trainers, great endurance strengths, and we're always still tired. And the reason for that is, kids don't carry the same stuff that you carry in your head. So it's worthwhile finding out about that, and at least looking back throughout the last few years or decades and clearing some of that out, and actually saying, realising it and appreciating how well you've done through a lot of tough times in your life. But it's James from Hidden Depths Coaching. Interested in my seminar, you can get me at info@hiddendepthscoaching.com. Thanks, bye bye.